Man, I pressed pause at the beginning and I thought I unpaused it. All right, for those of you watching the recording, you didn't miss much. It was just me doing a little intro about who I am and what we're going to learn. I'll try to go back and maybe redo that for you later. Anyway, you know what? Nobody's perfect. So those of you who showed up live, you get the real deal. So anyway, okay, so where was I? It's that when you cut into that cake, you see all of the layers and you realize that it's made up of all of these ingredients, right? The eggs, the flour, the vanilla, for any of those of you that bake, you know that all of those ingredients work together in harmony to create a cake that has substance and doesn't just look and smell great, but it tastes amazing as well. And I believe that, and I'm sure you'd agree that a cake that's all sprinkles and icing lacks substance, just like a brand that's all logo and website. When I say brand, I mean how you make people feel. It's the experience people have with you when they buy your product or when they see you out in the world in marketing and digital media. The key to me is really about creating your own recipe with you as the secret ingredient. And I'll dive a little bit more into this throughout this presentation. Awesome. Okay. How many people feel this is a very familiar feeling in your world? When you're in the thick of it as an entrepreneur, it really can be difficult to see the forest for the trees, right? We're always too close to our own businesses to be objective. And that means it can be really difficult to figure out why we aren't gaining followers, attracting the right customers, or growing as fast as we might like. And in my years as an entrepreneur and through our work at Lab Creative, I've helped other businesses create strong and compelling brands. And I've noticed that consistency in a few key areas is really essential to business growth. So these are the 5 areas that I'm going to be sharing with you today. First one is focus. Second, messaging. Number 3 is your presence. 4 is communication. And number 5 is experience. So I'm going to go through each of those. Just going to move the chat around. Okay, so first one is focus. A lot of people don't think about this when it comes to consistency, but who can resonate with this photo? Right? Squirrel. Sometimes even sitting here, I see the squirrels playing in my tree, so I literally get distracted by squirrels. But when we're often distracted like squirrels, it pulls away from what we should be focusing on. And as I said, I'm definitely guilty of that. And when you have a million balls in the air, as most business owners do, your attention is constantly divided. So saying goodbye to squirrel syndrome, as I like to call it, will give you an increased sense of clarity, confidence, and you guessed it, consistency. Now, I understand that you wear many hats each day, just as I do, and you could very easily find yourself in meetings with clients to close a deal, chasing an overdue invoice, posting on social media, doing the actual work that people have hired you to do, maybe even cleaning the office toilet. And by office, I mean your home toilet, because that's where most of us are working right now. Or it could even be helping your kids with their virtual school or making them lunch. That definitely resonates with where I am right now. So while it can feel impossible not to wear all of these hats, if you want to grow, you need to find a way to be intentional about your time. And this is still something that I work on a consistent basis, because it's so easy to get pulled back into bad habits with your time. And it does take time, but it is something I believe can be mastered. So a great first step really is to prioritize, both in the big picture, long term, and in your day-to-day. You want to take a look at what you need to deal with, what you need to delegate, what to delay, or can be even deleted, right? That saying no. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, I've struggled with that myself, is saying no to things. And so sometimes you have to learn how to just delete that thing or say no to it. So I do find it helpful to track this on a weekly basis. So this is something you can think about doing. This is ensuring that I'm spending enough time working on my business and not just in my business, right? I think we often get caught up in like, you're doing all the things, you're doing all the work, and then you haven't been doing any business development stuff. And suddenly you're like, oh crap, we're going to run out of business because I haven't been doing any business development. So this helps you make sure that you're spending enough time on both of those activities every week. Right? So what business development tasks do you need to get to this week? What client work needs your attention? What can you delegate to your team or your spouse or your partner or your kids, right? Like my kids make their own lunch because they're home right now. I'm like, I don't have time to now be making lunch for everybody. And they were making their lunches before when they went to school. So now they just get to make it fresh for themselves. And then what can you delay or delete? So like, what could you delay till next week or next month? Everything doesn't have to have a sense of urgency. So I think that's something to keep in mind. You don't need to have a sense of urgency all the time. So, and then looking at, is there something that's come up that you actually can just say no to? That that will really help you, because being overscheduled and burning out is not going to help you actually run your business, let alone allow it to grow. So, and as I said, you also have to have that big picture in mind to help you plan out your time and where to focus. It helps keep those shiny objects out of your line of sight. So for me, when I help my clients create the foundation of their brand, to me, that's the objective. That is like, where you're going, what your messaging is, and then you create the goals around that for yourself and your team. And that helps really create consistency in your business and in your brand. And so when you look at those short-term goals, like what do you want to achieve this week, this month, this quarter, this year, 3 to 5 years from now, so that you can look at these goals every day. I look at my goals every day, and I create action steps to get there, because goals are no good without action. You really have to be focused on, the thoughts that you have around it and the actions that you can take. So, ask yourself things like, where are my next 5 clients coming from? What am I going to be selling in the next 12 months? Do I need to scale up? Do I need to hire? Am I continuing on the same path, or am I changing direction? There's been a lot of people changing direction in the last year or so. So the second thing is messaging. Now, are you sending mixed messages? Many business owners understand the importance of strong visuals, but forget that words and the tone they use are just as important. And oftentimes your messages don't fit the visuals. There's a disconnect between the image you're projecting and the language that you're using. And that causes mistrust, right? Because something to remember is that people really want to work with and buy from people they know, like, and trust. You may have heard that before. And to do that, your messaging must connect with these people and be in alignment with you as well. There's no point in creating messaging that is only for your audience, but if it doesn't connect with who you are, then it won't connect with the right people. So for your messaging to be compelling, it must be clear, authentic, and consistent. And this will attract the right clients, dramatically increasing the chances that they'll stick with you and become loyal customers. And it will also attract the right kinds of employees if you're looking to hire, because your language will resonate with who they are. Now, to master your message, and these are things that I've learned over the years from my amazing copywriter, Janet Nielsen, who's also worked with many of my clients. She is phenomenal, so I wanted to give a shout out to her. To master your message, you need to stop worrying about how you should sound, right? Don't have a case of the shoulds, right? If you're looking at what other people are doing and emulating them, you're going to blend in. You have to think about, how do I show up? How do I want to be perceived? That is how you should be showing up. There, I used should again. You want to be confident in what you offer to the world. And you want to infuse your writing with you-ness. And what do I mean by that? It's got to feel like you. And I'm going to dive into a little bit more of that. And write like you talk. So let me dive into that one a little bit more. And this was key for me in my business. When I started writing more like I talk, people took notice. They engaged in my content, they wrote comments, they connected with me on a deeper level. That was really eye-opening. So think about how you talk. Do you use puns or metaphors? Do you write in short form like biz and intel? It was funny. I remember when Janet wrote some copy for me, she used some short forms like that. And my visceral reaction was like, oh no, I don't like that. That's not me. And so it was really clear to me that I don't use short forms like that. Do you use slang or swear? If you swear, do you actually spell it out, or do you put like a little symbol to kind of bleep it out a little bit? I've done that myself. Are you a verbose writer? Do you write long, eloquent prose, or are you like short and sweet and concise? Also think about what kinds of greetings do you use? This is actually impacts your brand. Do you say, hi, hello, hey, what's up, or what's up? It's my very bad 90s impression for any of you that remember that. I think it was a beer commercial from the 90s. Anybody here who's old enough to remember that? Let me know. So, pop in the chat, Ricky, you remember that? That was a terrible impression, but okay. So yeah, it was a Budweiser. So do you use metaphors? I use a lot of metaphors. How do you write? Do you have a sense of that in your own business? So start to think about this. How do you talk and how do you write? And are those two things aligned? It's important to make sure that they're aligned. And also when it comes to, and I'm going to dive a little bit more into your website, but is your, the way you write on your website similar to the way you write on social media? Because I often see a huge disconnect. People are like very formal on their website and much more like fun and casual on social. And I really believe that everything you write should be written in the same tone and style so that it's fluid and feels connected. And hey, cheers from Portugal. Amazing. I love that we've got this international crowd. Fantastic. Okay. So this can also extend to like emojis that you use. So what kind of emojis does your brand use? You could almost create like your library of like, these are our emojis. And it can be really powerful, when you know that like, these are the ones I use. And so I notice that there are specific ones that I go to. And so even create your own like emoji language for your business. Could be lots of fun. Arlene says bloody and damn show up quite a bit in her when she's passionate about something. Yeah, I mean, start writing those in and see. You'll really start to, when you just write from your heart more and it just let it flow out. You obviously need to go back and make sure it's actually articulate, because sometimes I've written stuff and gone, okay, that needs a little massaging. But the idea is to get people to know you. Even with my book, I said to my editor, I want people to read the book and go, this sounds exactly like you talk, if they know me, or read the book and then meet me and go, wow, your book sounds just like you. And that I had those kinds of comments. So I feel like that was a really important part, that even my book sounds like me. Karen says, I can see after working with you for the short time, I'm starting to shed my formal skin, which is starting to expose the authentic me. Ooh, you like it. That's good, because, shedding that formal skin, exposing like even that language could feel very vulnerable. And it is, it can be vulnerable to write this way, because, you can open yourself up to judgment, and we don't want that. And it can happen. But what happens when you write this way is that it will connect with the right people. And that's the beauty of this. So understanding, your brand personality is a key part of this for me, and it helps you find the right tone and style and language to represent your brand. And this is one of the key things that we do in Brand Camp that really drives all of your messaging and tone forward. And Brand Camp, for those of you that don't know about it, and I'll share a bit more later, this is my transformative branding experience that helps entrepreneurs develop the foundation for their brand. And having a strong foundation is really essential and a key part of developing the right messaging, and really helps you with that consistency, which was what we're focused on today. So the third thing I want to share is presence. And you'll notice that a lot of these they're really all tied in together. So does your social media say one thing and your website says another? I touched on this a little bit already. As I said, this is a common mistake that I see people making, but it's also the easiest one for you to take away and fix yourself. Because an inconsistent presence from, your social media to your website, right? This causes confusion for your customers. You want to create, predictability. And by that, I don't mean boring, right? We think often predictable and boring in the same sentence. That's not always the case. You want to be predictable in how you're showing up. And it can be quick that predictability can show up. I think it was maybe a couple of months ago, my husband and I decided Wednesday night was date night. Even though we're all home and we can't go to restaurants, Wednesday night's date night. The kids are having, pizza in the basement, watching a movie, and we're going to have a nice candlelit dinner, the two of us, on a Wednesday night. And it took 2 times for that to be like predictable. And like the kids were like, yeah, now they call it boys' night. And so even this morning, they're like, it's Wednesday. And it's because it's date night / boys' night. And it didn't take long for that to become this predictable habit and pattern in our lives. And you can think about that with your branding. When people expect you to show up on a certain day or in a certain way, then they're waiting for that. I've had people say, "Ooh, I can't wait to see your post, when you share something or when you go live," or any things like that. That is creating that predictable presence for your customers. So you want to make sure that all of your social media accounts and your website look like they're connected. So you want to look at things like your handles. Are your handles consistent across the board? Are the profile pictures the same? Are your timeline pictures? Are the colors and fonts and photography style, right? Do all of these things match each other? So you don't have to do this right now, but I would encourage you to find a time today, maybe to to pull up your website and all of your social media accounts and flip through them in your browser. I want you to take a look at these and just kind of go between each of them and ask yourself, okay, can I instantly recognize my own brand? Do these things, this website, these social media accounts look like they belong to the same company? I believe there shouldn't even be a split second that somebody is questioning whether or not they're in the right place. If that is the case, then there's a disconnect between these different platforms. So somebody, these are ours, this is our website, social media. Obviously, it's a little bit more up to date right now, and Facebook, right? So you can easily see that no matter which of these, if you flip through them, you're in the right place. We use the same fonts, the same colors, we're predictable in how we show up, both from the language and the visuals, which is really important. Now, I often talk about photography, and it is a huge part of creating your brand. In fact, I've got an amazing photographer, Darius Bashar, joining me on my Instagram live interview on Friday to talk about branded photography. So if anybody's interested, you can follow us on Instagram and join in on that conversation. So this is really becoming increasingly important, especially when it comes to authenticity and when it comes to, we're all in this digital world. The best way to connect with our audience is through photographs and through videos on our website and on our social media. And people can see right through stock images. And they need to see and connect with you in order to build that trust. So having branded photography for your businesses helps develop that trust and helps you stand out in a really big way. Like this client of mine, Catherine, from Courageous. These photographs capture the essence of her. She knows that she's not going to be for everybody, but the right clients who resonate with her and her images will be the right clients because they will accept her and love her energy. Now, in order to be consistent, you need to have brand guidelines. This is really an essential thing for every business, no matter how big or small you are. It helps you and anyone working on your brand maintain the consistency and the look and the tone, right? So, if you do, whether or not you're doing this for yourself now or down the road, you hire somebody to help you with your social media, these guidelines ensure that they maintain that consistency. So love a raise of hands or something in the chat. Who here has brand guidelines? Now I know all my clients do. So I know you are a yes. Karen, yours aren't done yet, but they're coming. Awesome. Yeah. So, let me see. That was maybe less than a quarter of participants here today that just raised their hands. So that's pretty typical when I do a talk, that most small businesses don't have brand guidelines. They're just sort of willy-nilly creating their brand on the fly. There's that reference to the fly by the seat of your pants marketing. When you have this, you have that consistency. I know Canva can be a really fun tool, but a lot of times we get distracted, right? That squirrel syndrome, where we ooh, that's a fun font. Ooh, that's a fun, look at that background. And then that creates wild inconsistency in your visual brand. So that's a big no-no for me. Doesn't mean your visuals can't be interesting and compelling, just not wildly inconsistent. Okay, number 4 is around communication. Don't be a one-hit wonder. In business, the last thing you want to do is put out an amazing blog post, you send an email to your list, and then crickets. You fall off the face of the planet, never to be seen or heard from again, kind of like a 90s one-hit wonder, right? We don't want to be Milli Vanilli, for all of you that are also old enough to know who Milli Vanilli is. Give me a hand raised if you know who Milli Vanilli were. Okay, awesome. All right, quite a few actually know who they are. I think they're more infamous than famous, so I think that's lasted a long time. But this image really, kind of, I know Karen, you said you love this, and it's true. It really depicts that you can't just do one thing and expect that the masses will come. Even with your brand, we can create the most amazing brand for you in the world. But if you don't put yourself and your business out there, it's still going to fall flat, right? You have to have a plan, and you have to have that support and put yourself out there. And really, in this fast-paced digital world, people have short memories. Most of them need to hear from you multiple times. It's been 6 to 8 for a while, typically before they're going to buy. And because of the state of the world right now, I'm actually hearing it's closer to 20 times that people need to hear from you before they're going to buy, which is why it's so important that you reach out consistently and be visible to your audience, because it's really the cumulative effect of your blogging, your emailing, your social media, newsletters, networking, whatever it is that you're doing, that will really pay off for your business. It's not just putting out one blog post or one social post and thinking that that will be enough, especially because we can't really see people in the same way as we used to. Now, many of us get caught up in the pursuit of perfection, which prevents us from being visible. And if you let perfectionism paralyze you, you'll never be seen or remembered by your customers, right? Like I said, if you're not putting yourself out there, nobody's going to know who you are. And remember that done is better than perfect. I strive for putting out the best I can, but sometimes there's typos, sometimes there's mistakes. Things happen. That's okay. We are human after all. You just need to do your best and know that that is good enough. And you can survive a less than perfect post, because if you're not out there at all, you're not going to stand a chance. Now, I believe you need to be regularly active in at least 3 areas, like blogging, videos, social media, email marketing. Any of these are just some suggestions. There's probably way more, podcast interviews, various things, partnerships. There's so much potential. Now, many people might look at this and think, oh, I'm just going to be bothering my audience by posting or emailing too frequently. But the reality is, it's almost impossible to share too much. There is so much noise out there. So every person isn't seeing or remembering every post. And the best approach to me is to regularly share valuable, thoughtful content that will build trust and keep you top of mind. So really, you're the first person they think of when they're ready to hire you. And I've been there. I've like seen people consistently. And so when I'm thinking about who do I want to hire, they're the first person I'm going to reach out to. And that happened to me just recently with somebody, with a home organizer who I'm going to hire when I can actually have somebody come into my house to help me organize my kitchen. I see her post regularly. I see her content. And as soon as I made the decision that was something I was going to do, she was the first person that I thought of. I don't know that she's on this call. She might not be, but anyway, shout out to Catherine. Looking forward to that actually happening. But it really goes to show that posting and sharing content regularly is important, because even though I wasn't ready a few months ago, seeing her post regularly, and then as soon as I made this decision, I didn't have to think, who was that? Oh, there was somebody I saw, and now I can't remember who they were, right? We have short attention spans. Our brains are full. We're overloaded. So it's not just about quantity. It's not just about like, I just need to post as much stuff, but it's garbage or it's not on brand. It's also the quality of what you post is also really important. Okay, so the last one I want to share is experience. And I touched a bit on this in the beginning. And it's really the experience people have when they work with you or buy your product, the image you project when you put yourself out into the world. This is just as important as what you're selling. And I want you to think about how you make people feel. This feeling needs to drive everything you do and how you do it, from how you answer the phone to the quality of the products and services you offer, how you show up in marketing and on social media. The unique experience you take your clients on is key to standing out. You want them to choose you because you're the only choice, not because you're cheaper or more conveniently located. And you can do that through a unique client experience and journey that you take them on. And to me, your brand is not what you sell, it's how you sell it. And for those of you that follow me for a while, you've probably heard me say this many times. It's in my book. Because the reality is that many of us are selling the same products or services. You have the same education, you're selling the same, thing as the next person in your industry. So it's really you and your unique skill set, experience, and personality that sets you apart. The what here is your products or services. They're the commodity. The how is really what sets you apart. Now, the first thing you need to do to start developing your client experience is really to map out the entire client journey. What I did for this, and maybe some of you would like to try this if this works for you, I went for a walk and I did a voice memo, and I just talked through that from start to finish, everything I wanted to do, all the touch points, right from the discovery call to the delivery of the products or services, every touch point, every email, the timelines, all of those things. And then this can really help you, because then you can look at, where can I add in those small unique touches that will make it memorable? How can I make this a repeatable system? This is really important. It's not just about having one person have an amazing experience with you and then you don't repeat it with other people, right? You have to create a repeatable system and use tools in the background to ensure that you're following this along so everybody has the same experience. There's nothing worse than somebody recommending you to a business because they had an amazing experience, and then you sign up with them and it's terrible because they don't have that consistent, repeatable experience and journey that they're taking people on. So as a point of reference for you, if you don't know this, this is our 3-step process. And I was only ever able to develop this after I had mapped out the unique and repeatable journey I wanted to take our clients on. Okay, Marcio is asking if I expand on the concepts, please. just let me know which part, if you can, so I can go back to that. And Ricky, yeah, the repeatability is really key. So for me, when I mapped this all out, I could develop this 3-step process. So step 1 is think. That's brand camp. This is where we create that foundation for your brand. Step 2 is design. This is where we bring it to life visually. And step 3 is implement. And this is where I'm my client's creative partner and provide support, training, metrics, accountability for greater success. And it's really important to me that the experience you offer is clearly articulated and expressed visually on your website and social media. That's a bit different from that client journey. That's more internal. But what that internal work does is it allows you to create your unique signature 3 to 5 step process, which is part of what I help my clients really hone in on. Because remember, you want them to choose you because you're the only choice, not because you're cheaper or more conveniently located. And if you're just selling a commodity and not selling an experience, they're going to go with whoever could be the cheapest, right? And that's not what you want to be. And this is really, having this experience is really important. Can I repeat that? Which part, Karen? The importance of the experience and expressing that visually. Anyway, we can chat. If you want to clarify that later, I'll hop back in. So I want to make sure that I can keep flowing through here. Okay, so before you can really move forward and understand what you're doing well, you need to kind of assess this. And so I've created a consistency checklist. I'm going to pop it into the chat. I will share it by email later in case you don't get a chance to download it. This is just a checklist you can kind of go through and just kind of check off, like, where am I consistent, and see what boxes you don't check off. Will really help you get a sense of what it is that you need to work on. Okay, Karen, I started with it's important. Right. Okay. So it's important that that the experience is expressed on the website, both visually and in words. So I hope that clarifies that for you, Karen. Okay, so you download the consistency checklist. Hopefully that will help you just get a sense of where you can fill in some of the gaps. Also, make sure you go back and do that assessment. So these are the tips on what I think you can do next. Really make your marketing a priority. Now, I don't call myself a marketing company, but to me, marketing is huge. It's really what draws in the business. Like, you have to have that solid brand, right? You can't have effective marketing without amazing branding, but you can't have an effective business without the two of those coming together. You need to find your authentic voice. How do I write? How do I speak and show up? How do I dress, right? Review your online presence so that you can check for those inconsistencies and fix them. And commit to being visible consistently. I'd love for you to share with me, over the next few weeks, like, how have you improved your visibility? Are you posting more frequently? Make sure that I'm seeing it. Share it with me in my DM on Instagram or whatever channel so that I can see what you're doing and follow along and be your cheerleader and support you along the way. I know how scary it can be to put yourself out there, and I want to be there to support you in this. And I would love that. And then look at creating a repeatable experience. Start to map out that client journey. What is the unique approach that you do? And what systems do you need in the back end to help make sure that that happens? And that's something that, we can't dive into today. That's the kind of work that I help my clients with as well. Because, I want you to remember that small changes can lead to big results. Some of these things might seem like they're small things, but really they are so important. When you can do a bunch of small things, they really have a huge impact on your business. Maureen, I'll answer your question in a few minutes. All right. I just want to share a few other things here. So I will answer that. Okay, so I would love to know what you've learned from this. If you got a big aha, what you know you need to do now in your business. What's important? If you want to share that in the chat, that would be amazing. I would love to see that. And while you're doing that, actually, I'll answer Maureen's question. Brand guidelines, we always include colors and fonts, all the various versions of your logo, and all of the key messaging that we did together in Brand Camp. So Maureen, I would include things like your new tagline, your positioning statement, your personality, your why. Those are things that we all include in the brand guidelines, as well as what not to do with the logo, just to make sure that everybody is, oh, you know what? I see that I did not post that link in the right place. There you go. Thank you, Michelle. I posted it to panelists and I'm the panelist. So thank you for that. Oh man, technology, we all have our moments with it. So hopefully that helps, Maureen, with your question about brand guidelines. So Shani says, bringing in clients and trying our science kits, marketing to catch interest. Yeah, being creative with your marketing, no matter what business you're in. I found that it's that creativity and trying new things and experimenting is really key. And I keep saying to people, we've got the best scapegoat in the world right now. If something doesn't work, you're like, we just blame COVID. Oh, this didn't work. Okay, we're going to move on. But I've experimented so much in my business and my content and my approach in the last year, and it has often paid off because it gets noticed. All right, what have we got here? Ricky says, I'm feeling like I need to create a consistent user experience, which might make marketing easier. Yes, it will. Ensuring the website and social are fluid and consistent with my brand voice. Awesome, Adrian. Arlene, I like watching you because of how consistent you are with your colors every time. My website will be ready soon and I'll follow your tips for consistency. Awesome. Yeah, you are it's important even how you dress and how you show up, right? You'll often see me I'm usually wearing floral prints or a color that's on brand. And it's not necessarily because it's a brand color, it's because these are colors that resonate with me, which is why they're part of my brand. So Marcio, I think I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You have to focus and explain properly what branding does, right? Aside from graphics, exactly. I know you're in the same industry as me. So awesome. And you're welcome for the checklist. So you're probably wondering, okay, now I know this stuff. How do I make this happen quickly? You're busy, you're working, you're dealing with a pandemic. If you're in Ontario, you're like locked at home, you're homeschooling your kids if you've got kids. A lot has maybe changed in your business or your business model, and you need all of this done yesterday. And I totally get that. And you can do it alone and try to figure it out as you go, which I've been there too. And that can be very challenging and frustrating because you get sidetracked with client work and the running of the business. And the reality is that you're too close to your business to be objective, and everyone needs an outside perspective. I often share that even I hired somebody to help me with my branding when I started Lab Creative because I knew that I was too close to my own business to have that objectivity. And this is what I do for a living, and I hired somebody else to help me with it, although it's very me. So you could go that route and do it alone, or you could join me as your creative partner on a journey of deep thinking and discovery into what makes you different, how to stand out, and how to really be known for something. And we get this done quickly, and you have a powerful new perspective that I can provide. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, I would love to, oh, my slide is doing something weird. There we go. No, there we go. I'd love to introduce you to Brand Camp. Now, I know there's a few of my clients on here who've gone through Brand Camp. If you want to pop in the chat and share your experience with this, so it's a different perspective and not just mine, because I love this program so much, would love for you to share that in the chat. Now, I've taken well over 100 clients through this process in the last few years, and it is truly transformative. This experience brings you clarity and confidence and the exact language you need to connect with your audience in only 2 weeks. To me, it's an essential first step in creating a brand that is consistent in all areas of your business. And it sets you up for success and is the key to standing out and attracting the right clients. All of this is going to lead to more money in your pocket and a greater impact in the world. Now, as I said, Brand Camp is what I love to do. It is absolutely my most favorite thing. I just wrapped up a session on Friday with a group. I missed them already, although we're all starting with design. And it's just so, it is when I am at my best. And I absolutely love to see how I can transform the mindsets of and the businesses of the entrepreneurs that I get to work with. So what this program is all about is I help you create a unique brand foundation that identifies your target audience, competition, it clarifies what makes you different and why clients should hire you over the next company. You will discover why you do what you do and how to create a business that really leads from that place. And the personality of your brand, which I've mentioned already. And this is key in the tone of your messaging as well as the visual design. And finally, we create a clearly defined and compelling brand position, which is kind of like that 10-second elevator pitch defined by how you want to be perceived in the minds of your clients. And this is language that nobody else in your industry can use because it is what you bring that is so unique to the table, right? A lot of people come to me and they say, everybody's using the same language in my industry. Everybody kind of sounds the same. And this process helps really leverage what makes you different and create a brand that ties into that beautifully. And last but not least, your essence, which is the heart and soul of your brand, summed up in a few words and most often used as a tagline. And as I said, this drives all of your messaging going forward and creates a powerful and consistent brand. So I can see some awesome comments from a few of my amazing clients. Thank you so much. Okay, so Brand Camp is 6 2-hour live group video calls where we do all the work together. You get a workbook to guide you through that process, some support by me behind the scenes, a private Facebook group between sessions, and a 30-minute one-on-one strategy session with me, and a copy of my book, which you can see right over my shoulder. This is all 2,500 Canadian. I'm going to pop the link into the chat. If anybody wants to check it out, you can go to that page, click the link, learn all the details. Really, my guarantee is that you'll leave this program with a deep sense of relief. It's funny, that word comes up often from my clients who go through this. And you're going to have the clarity and confidence you need to create a business that truly reflects who you are, articulates your unique offering, and only attracts the right people to your business. That sounds good, right? So I have spots left for my next session, which starts May 3rd. And those will fill up quickly because I only take up to 6 people. And, this may not be right for you, and that's okay. I'm not here to tell you, to sign up if you're not interested, if you're not ready. But if you do think now's the time to do that deep work that can, actually allow you to do the work you love for clients who will value it and pay you what you deserve, then I would love for you to book a call with me. Absolutely no strings attached. So here's a link. I'm going to post this in the chat as well. A link to my calendar. If you want to book a call, I've got a few spots available for Friday and next Tuesday. If you want to connect and see if Brand Camp is the right fit for you, I really do curate these groups to make sure that it is the right group of people that are together and creating an amazing chemistry with each other and supporting each other's businesses. So you can click on that link if you want to book a call. And you may not be ready to chat with me one-on-one just yet. So if not, here's a link to my quiz. You can take the quiz. It'll give you some better assessment of kind of where you are now, with some tips and tools of like things that you can do outside of what we've already talked about today. Awesome. Okay, so enough of that. Let's get to some questions. I see a few here in the Q&A. Jane, experience of working with me in the website, interior decorator. Okay, so you're interior decorator. Should I show pictures of me working with clients, selecting fabrics? Absolutely, Jane. I don't want to just see your beautiful, perfect interior shots. I want to see those, but more so, I want to see you interacting with people. You are working with people for, a pretty long time sometimes, and it's really about relationships. They have to trust you. You're collaborating. So I would want to see a lot of photos of you collaborating with your clients, and not always just staged ones. I want you to show off your personality, right? How do you dress? Are you, do you laugh a lot? What are your mannerisms? I want to see that expressed in those pictures. So I hope that that helps answer that question for you, Jane. Okay. And then Jenny, how do you know, how much do you need to know about your idea? How sure do you need to be about things to be able to start working with your branding? Well, you need to know what your business is, like what you're selling. So I think that's, you have to have at least like an idea of what it is that you're creating. You can't really create a brand for a business that is sort of up in the air in terms of what the services is that you're offering. So I do think that you have to have a pretty solid plan. You don't necessarily need to know how you're offering it or who the audience is per se, but you have to understand what it is that you're going to be selling. So I hope that helps, Jenny. Let me know. Okay, those were the two questions in the Q&A. Okay, here's one from Shani. My business is Messy Labs and I sell home science kits. Ooh, fun. For kids ages 6 to 13. Where should I be focusing for marketing? I spend a lot of time on Facebook and IG. I mean, those to me would probably be the most effective. I think it's in how you're marketing those. Obviously, these are science kits for kids, but your audience really is the parents who are going to buy those kits. So how are you engaging them? Or are there ways that you can market that brings in the kids as well? So I think that could be, something to think about. What are creative ideas? Like, think about these science kits. Like, what could you be doing? You could be doing like live science experiments on social media. You could be doing really fun things that could maybe get the parents and the kids involved. So that's just sort of something that I thought of, but like live videos, I think could be something really amazing to leverage, and also building your email list. Maybe it's creating some resources for people that their kids are home right now because of, COVID, and they're doing virtual school. What can you do? What are some tips to help them engage in science and things like that through the things that you're doing? Or even connect with teachers, perhaps. So anyway, I've got lots of ideas around that, obviously. So I hope that helps. Okay, to have a clear product. Yeah, you need to really understand like what the product is. I think you're sort of answering that other question, Marcio, understanding what the clients are going to get from that and build the business around it. You just want to make sure that you love the business you're building, right? I really believe that you want it to be something that people want and need, but you also want to make sure that it's something that's going to light you up. Something that came up that was really interesting, I did a live interview with my husband, who just launched a new tech business for homeowners to help them with their renovations. And, one thing he said is people kept saying to him, but you're so good at design. You're so good at, designing kitchens and interiors and all of that. Why would you stop? And they were kind of questioning. They're like, but you're so good at it. Just because you're really good at something doesn't mean you want to continue doing it, right? He is really good at it, but he had sort of run his course and was kind of wanting to shift gears. It doesn't mean he doesn't still love design and have that as part of his life, but he no longer wanted to do that as a career. So we have to really listen to our guts and follow what we want out of our business, right? We are the entrepreneur. We are the founder of these businesses. We get to decide who we work with and what the work is that we do. And so it's really important when you have that foundation, it keeps you on track as opposed to like getting strayed off course, because that's what people think you should be doing. So I hope that helps answer that questions. Yeah, don't just do it for the money. It's really about what can you give, right? We all have so much talent and so much that we can give to people, and that is our gift, right? We get money in exchange for that. That's great, but it's really about what can we give? It's about giving and receiving. I really believe that. So I see the time. There's like 2 minutes left. If anybody's got some last questions, would love to answer them. If not, we can wrap it up here. There's our social handle, Lab Creative Inc. If you want to follow us on social, Instagram, wherever, that's our handle. You can email me, laura@labcreative.ca. If you're trying to book a time in the calendar and you can't find one that works, just send me an email and my assistant Danielle will make sure that we find a time for you in our calendar, because if Brain Camp is right for you and you're interested, I really want to make sure that I get a chance to connect with you before our next session starts. Okay, Jane has one more question. Yeah, Jane, you can actually get, photographers can shoot right now with, for corporate work, but they can't do family shoots. So you could still do that. Potentially, it's obviously a little bit more logistically challenging, but yeah, focus on your social media and doing maybe more videos with you doing what you do, and do that for the time being. All right, Ricky's booking a strategy call. Awesome, can't wait. Marcia, yes, I'll share the recording. Thanks for coming all the way from Portugal. And Michelle, you're welcome, everybody. I'm so thankful that you all joined me today. I hope to connect with all of you either on social or on a call. And I've got another presentation next month I'm going to be doing, really talking about lessons we can learn from the big brands and how we can apply those to our small businesses. So have an amazing day, everybody. Thanks again for joining me, and I wish you a wonderful day. Bye. Thanks for coming, Arlene. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jenny from Sweden. Awesome.